The 2018 midterm elections are just beyond us, but some of you will be headed back to the polls sooner than you think. A high number of special elections are taking place in Pennsylvania this year. John Cole, the managing editor of PoliticsPA, will be joining me to break down those races and what you need to know. All of that is coming up right here, right now. I'm Sam Chen, and this is Face the Issues. Good evening and welcome to Face the Issues. I'm Sam Chen. Thank you so much for joining us. The 2018 midterm elections are just beyond us, but for some of you, you'll be headed back to the polls sooner than you think. There are a high number of special elections already occurring throughout Pennsylvania, and a large number of those are taking place right here in our broadcast viewing area. And so I've asked our recurring guest, John Cole, the managing editor of PoliticsPA, to join us to break down some of those races and what you need to know. John, thanks so much. Welcome back to the show.
Well, thanks for having me back. And as you see, this time the suit is worn now. I know you had some thoughts for me afterwards, but this time dressed a little nicer for you this time.
Back and forth. Well, it's good to see you. I like the suit.
Thanks.
Welcome back. So, 2018 historic election cycle, obviously lots of news coverage on it. Odd year elections, we generally get less news coverage. But there are several special elections occurring throughout the state. A lot of them in our viewing area that are very, very important. Just to start off, what is a special election? How does this differ from the primary and the general?
So a special election can be triggered for a number of different reasons. It could be for someone, resigning, retiring, someone, unfortunately, let's say passing away, which is an example of one of the special elections that just recently took place. Again, these are something where, the representative no longer represents that seat, so there's a void there where you need that seat filled. So both parties meet up, they select a candidate. So there's no primary. That's something I think that's worth noting for the viewers. And if they wonder, for the two special elections in the state house that just took place, they may wonder, it's pretty odd that I didn't get a chance to vote in the primary because there is no primary for a special election. It's the conferees for the different counties inside that district. They hand select the nominees. But then, of course, there's an election that ensues to basically fill the rest of that term.
Okay.
So, again, for the state house, state senate, things of that nature in Congress, they start the term, I guess, as soon as basically they get elected, and they have until the conclusion of the term with the rest of the people of that class.
Got it. So one of the races that we'll talk about is the new 12th congressional district, which used to be the 10th. Congressman Tom Marino resigns. There's a special election for his seat coming up pretty soon. The winner of that seat will then finish the rest of that congressional term.
That is 100% correct. Okay. Congressman Marino stepped away. In January, he announced he was resigning. Again, he's a Republican congressman. He started in 2011. One of the more Republican-friendly districts in the whole state. The new 12th district encompasses 15 different counties. Now, not the whole entirety of all those 15 counties, but at least part of 15 different counties. President Trump won the configuration of those boundaries by 35 points in 2016. Representative Tom Marino won re-election this past November by 32 points. So this is a safe Republican seat, most strategists would say. But with a special election, in theory, you never know what can happen.
Is turnout generally lower in a special election? Is that one of the reasons why?
That's 100% the case because there's not the same amount of media coverage like you alluded to. And two, you don't really see the amount of ads on television. And to be frank, I mean, how many people, I guess, are aware enough, when a person resigns, how many people know, oh, there's a special election this day? It catches a lot of people off guard, quite frankly, unless you're politically engaged enough or let's say, you read the paper often enough. But for the most part, I think they usually are lower turnout. Usually it's the most passionate people about politics who go out to the polls those days.
Oh, that makes sense. And so that's why our job is so important. I believe the entirety of the 12th district is in our broadcast viewing area. So if you're watching and you are in the 12th congressional district, this segment is for you. So Congressman Marino resigns. There's been some talk about why he had cited a health issue. Also talk of him taking a job with the pharmaceutical company. in a little bit of history, he had actually, this is not the first time there's been a rumor of a special for the seat. He had been tapped by President Trump to serve as the director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy, or what we affectionately call the drug czar. But he later had to withdraw from that due to some controversy with pharmaceuticals and some pharmaceutical companies and some bills that he was writing. So it's not the first time there's been a rumor of a special election for the seat. Talk to me a little bit about, first of all, this is the 4th congressional seat in Pennsylvania that is going to be up for a special election in just 1 year. 1 year ago, roughly this month, Connor Lamb wins the special election for the seat that Congressman Murphy once held. This is the 4th special now. We've gone former Congressman Murphy seat, former Congressman Dent seat, former Congressman Meehan seat, and now former Congressman Marino seat. Why so many? This does not seem common. This
is not the norm, and that's something, if you're a Pennsylvania voter, you were probably scratching your head. And it's funny, last time, I think it was before that when I joined you, we were previewing the 2018 midterms. We were talking about how there are certain people in this viewing area that were voting 2 different congressional races because the maps are redrawn.
Right.
That was also a factor in some of this as well. Congressman Marino stepping away is the latest of that, like you mentioned. Going back to last March was the special election with Connor Lamb when he was elected to succeed Representative Murphy, a Republican, a rather GOP-friendly district.
Right.
He pulled the upset off over State Representative Rick Saccone there, and that was the national media, not just local outlets.
Right.
The national media really had their sights set because people were wondering, would that be a precursor
right.
to the 2018 midterms?
Right.
And I would, to your original point, though, this amount of special elections is certainly not the norm. But in Pennsylvania, we're seeing at multiple levels. Again, it's not just Congress. We're seeing it in the State House, State Senate, and so on.
Why do you think that is?
Again, there's different reasons. Certain people retire. I mean, we know Congressman Dent retired. There's different people who walk away for different reasons. Congressman Meehan didn't leave exactly on the best of terms. Congressman Dent, it seemed like he had enough of Washington, D.C., I guess, at that current time, not to put words in his mouth.
Sure.
Congressman Murphy also had a scandal in which when he walked away. And Congressman Marino, the most recent one, when he first left, he announced that he was going to take a job in the private sector. But then a couple weeks later, he did an interview stating he had health issues. I spoke to Congressman Marino in Williamsport when the 12th Congressional District GOP met to pick their candidate to succeed him. And he mentioned he's still battling these issues. He appreciates everyone's well wishes, he told us. But he mentioned he just couldn't do the job at the same time. So again, there's a number of reasons why people may step away from office.
Sure.
It just happens to be unique that out of the 18 congressional districts in the state of Pennsylvania, 4, we're looking at 4 different special elections over a little over a course of a year. The special election for the 12th district will be the same day as the Pennsylvania primary, which is May 21st. So there's still some time for that. And for those in the viewing area of the 12th congressional district, perhaps you will see some television ads for both candidates. And you might be confused thinking, didn't I just vote for a congressional representative in November? You did. It's just that Congressman Marino did step away. So that is why there's another special election.
Let's break down the candidates quickly. You've got a gentleman named Mark Friedenberg on the Democrat side who ran this last cycle against Congressman Marino, and then you have a state representative named Fred Keller on the Republican side. What do we know about these candidates?
So let's start off with State Representative Fred Keller. Going into the GOP conferee meeting in Williamsport, so when the party got together, people from 15 different counties selected the Republican nominee. There were, going into that weekend, 20 plus people were trying to seek that seat.
Wow.
For obvious reasons, because it's such a Republican-friendly seat. It's so sought after because, in a sense, you go in as the heavy favorite into the special election and beyond. So going into that meeting, State Representative Fred Keller was one of the more well-known names. He represents Snyder County. He walked away with the nomination that day. Again, he's been in the State House for a couple terms. I spoke to him that day, expressed excitement for getting the nomination. He stood alongside Representative G.T. Thompson that day when he got the nomination. I think he feels rather confident going into it. He talked about being a conservative, and although he's not going to necessarily, he said to the media, listening to everything in Trump's agenda, but he said more times than not he will agree with President Trump. And then, mind you, this is a district in which President Trump won by the configuration was 35 points of those boundaries.
Right.
So certainly a district that he's rather popular in.
Sure.
Democrat Mark Friedenberg, again, he ran in 2016 as a Democratic nominee, a professor at Penn State. He's giving it a go again this time. He's embraced more progressive policies. He's detailed the Green New Deal as something he supports and Medicare for all. So we'll have to see how that plays out in a district such as this. We're not odds makers here, but I know that he's certainly embraced a more progressive agenda. And Representative Keller, State Representative Keller, has kind of also embraced a more conservative agenda, not exactly moderate. So you're almost looking at two different candidates with two completely different messages.
So Mr. Friedenberg is taking a very different tack than Congressman Lamb did in his special election.
Yeah, just a bit. I mean, when we saw when when Congressman Lamb ran in that special election, that was a Republican-friendly seat, as we're all aware.
Yes.
Not as Republican-friendly as the 12th district, but you'd have to imagine that I think a lot of political strategists will tell you that it paid off for Congressman Lamb kind of going more the moderate route. Heck, when Congressman Lamb, at the time when he was just a candidate, Connor Lamb, he mentioned that he would not vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker.
Did not.
And he did not. He was the only Democrat in the Pennsylvania Democratic delegation to not vote for. So he ran on this kind of independent-ish. He's a Democrat, but he was not trying to align himself with the progressive wing of the party.
Sure.
And it paid off. And then he won also for a full term.
Against an incumbent congressman, against Keith Rothfus.
Keith Rothfus. And that was the only race in the whole country between two different incumbents, just because of the way the maps were drawn.
Right. What happens in this 12th district, does it impact our representation in Washington?
I mean, if you think about it, right now, at this current time, we know that there's 18 congressional districts in PA, meaning you should have 18 congressional representatives there. Right now, we have 17 because Marino stepped away. So right now, for the next couple of months, the Republicans in theory are down one person.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll see if they regain that spot. I believe many pollsters will tell you at least they're the expected favorite going into it. But again, there is still time to be had, and heck, there's stranger things I guess have happened. So we'll see.
Sure. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Face the Issues. John, thank you again for being here, for taking the time. We're talking about special elections. Very high number. We're looking at about 6 special elections in just the first half of this year in Pennsylvania. We're talking about the 12th congressional district, the old 10th congressional district. But let's talk about one of the other big races that odds makers in Pennsylvania are eyeing, which is the 37th senatorial district out in the Pittsburgh area. Congressman Guy Reschenthaler won his congressional seat, vacated this seat, which creates an opening. And so they're having a special election coming up. What's the date of that election?
So that will be April 2nd. So this is coming up very shortly, as you imagine. This is getting a ton of press because this district in the Pittsburgh area, Congressman Reschenthaler, like you alluded to, held that seat. Ironically enough, he also won it on a special election. But the state senator before him was a Democrat,
correct,
Matt Smith. So you're looking at the seat went from a Democrat who stepped away during his term to take another job. Then it went to a Republican who stepped away after winning a congressional seat. And now it's back up for grabs. And I think there's such interest in it because the Democrats, of course, are looking to try to flip that seat where they think they're getting momentum. In a lot of the suburbs across America, quite frankly, it seems like the Democratic Party is trying to gain momentum in there. We can even kind of point to the most recent midterms where the Democrats, where they claimed most of their victories, where they picked up seats in Congress, they picked it up in the Philly suburbs. The whole Philadelphia congressional suburban delegation now are all Democrats. When it was previously all Republican, and then and same thing for the state house and state senate, they made gains there. So the Democrats are eyeing that up right now. They're obviously hoping to pick that up. Their candidate is Pam Iovino, a Navy veteran. She has touted she's at least trying to tout a bipartisan message, mentioning her experience in the military. She's knocked doors with Representative Connor Lamb, who of course had success in a special election in March of 2018.
And a very similar tack. Congressman Lamb is a veteran, takes the moderate, independent, bipartisan approach. This seems like a very, very different move than what Friedenberg's doing in the congressional race.
That is very much the case, it seems. And she is running against D. Raja. So this is his third time seeking office. So he's a name that I think voters out there are more familiar with. Considering that Iovino had not run for the seat before. Raja was the candidate, as a matter of fact, for this very seat for the state Senate against Senator Smith when it was a special election there in 2012. So again, you're looking at, and then he also ran for Allegheny County Executive, but lost to Rich Fitzgerald, who is still the Allegheny County Executive to this day. So he seeked office multiple times. He's run a very pro-business type agenda. He made his mark in the business industry.
Business world, sure.
So the Democratic, he's using his platform to mention a pro-business agenda, creating jobs in the Pittsburgh area. If you see his television ads, he very much touts saying the amount of jobs he's created in that area. At the same time, the playbook has been out on Raja, where every time he's ran for office, his Democratic opponent likes to hit him on his business record, trying to say he's outsourcing jobs, things of that nature. So it's this double-edged sword where he touts his business background as a positive. His opponents try to label him as
negative.
As a negative, saying he's not really looking out for you. He has, he's just looking out for his business, not his workers.
Right.
In theory, so that is kind of the playbook the Democrats have used. Raja, I think, much like many Republicans, we're going to see with ads going into 2019 and 2020. He's already had ads out there against Iovino, trying to link her to the more liberal wing of the Democratic Party. So, we try, and one of his attack ads, he tried to align Iovino with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, Senator Bernie Sanders, Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So he's trying to, of course, for understandable reasons, the playbook is that he's going to try to make her seem not that this moderate candidate, she really is aligned with them. And that is basically where we're at right now in that race. But it's significant because if the Republicans hold on to it, they can certainly, not only is it a sigh of relief, it probably gives them a little bit of confidence moving forward. But if they lose it, again, the Republicans still maintain a majority in the state Senate, and they will for the rest of 2019.
This seat's not going to flip the majority.
Correct. That is, they still have multiple seat advantage, but it would give the Democrats some confidence, thinking maybe into 2020, maybe there's a chance that they could try to regain, control of the state Senate, where it's been quite some time since.
So is this really a momentum seat then, in the sense that this is not so much about who's going to control the House, or in this case the Senate, but this is a kind of a forerunner seat where both parties are trying to use this as a momentum boost?
Of course, and I think that's politics as we both as we both understand it. Where when Congressman Lamb, somewhat similar, they were both special elections around the same time. Democrats use that victory as a primer, saying we won there, we can win anywhere.
Right.
And Republicans tried to downplay it, saying it's okay, it's not that big of a loss. So no matter, it's like we can predict, whatever party wins this seat is going to tout this as a huge victory.
Right.
All the momentum is on our side.
Right.
And the loser of whoever that may be is going to say this, it's only one race, it's not that big of a deal. There's so many more elections to come up. So, I mean, that's the way politics is, and we both know that.
What's your take? Is this seat a big deal?
I think for the voters in that area it is.
Sure.
But I mean,
it's
again,
a good way to put it.
Not to diminish it, because if you live in other parts of the state, you might not think, does it necessarily matter to you? But I think to the parties itself, for the parties itself, it really matters, because they want to have that. They want to claim that victory.
Right.
They want to go into the next, for the remainder of the year to say, here's proof of us winning in 2019. Forget 2018. We have this victory in 2019 to claim as our own. So I think the parties really want it, and the people of that area, of course, want the proper representation, however that they may deem that to be. But if you live in another part of the state, I don't want to lie to you and say this is uber important to you, because it's not necessarily.
It's not really going to impact them.
Exactly, not directly, unless. If this was a seat to change the majority, I mean, that would be a different case,
story.
But it would just close the gap or widen the gap.
Right. We also had two, and you mentioned this earlier, we had two state house seats that have already, two specials that have already taken place, two state house seats, one in the northeastern part of Pennsylvania in our viewing area where a representative had passed away, sadly, and another one, the Philadelphia area, also in our viewing area, where a representative was convicted. Talk a little bit about what happened in those two seats.
So both special elections were won by the Democrat. And they were both Democrat held. So
this is a keep for the Democrats.
Correct. But the reason why I think the one in Northeast Pennsylvania really caught people who were really interested in politics, caught their attention, because the representative there, Sid Michaels Kovulich, passed away in October, and he was a Democrat. Held that seat for some time, and the Democrats have had that state representative seat for almost 2 decades. So it's not like it's not a shock that the Democrat won in that sense. But this isn't your progressive Democrat. Kovulich was known Sid Michaels was known for being pro-life,
Sure.
which is an issue that obviously not all Democrats are embracing
Right.
in today's party. And that was something that was brought up on this campaign trail. Like, both candidates wanted to appear as they were pro-life because it's a district where that certainly matters to them.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because in 2012, this district, this House district, voted for President Obama over Governor Mitt Romney by 18 points. Significant margin. That's, by all intents and purposes, that's a blowout almost.
Right.
President Trump carried these same boundaries in 2016 over Secretary Hillary Clinton by 7 or 8 points.
Wow.
You're talking about a 25-point swing in just a 4-year term. So that gave Republicans hope to think, is there a chance that they could take this back because the demographic is changing? It was not the case. Bridget Malloy Kozarowski, a registered nurse, she was a Democrat, and she won by nearly 25 points. So that's rather significant because I think the Democrats expect to hold it.
Yeah.
Sure. But by that margin, I think, is what they were surprised by. The Republican had some issues. Frank Scavo, former Old Forge school board president, no more, also involved in real estate. Old social media posts from Facebook on surfaced of some anti-Muslim post that caught a lot of attention. He apologized for them, but it was still certainly a stain on his campaign. And Kozarowski basically, won by a comfortable margin, to say the least, in a district that Trump won by 7 or 8 points.
Right.
The Democrat won by 25. And again, it's not like the Republicans were expected to flip it.
Right.
But that margin, I think, is what caught people off guard.
Right. Quickly, what happened in Philly? Brown is presumably heading to prison.
State Representative Vanessa Lowry Brown was convicted on bribery charges. She was unopposed in the November election, so she didn't have anyone to face. It's a very Democratic district. It's in West Philadelphia. So after she resigned, after she was elected, a special election ensues. Democrats had a tough time picking a candidate. It took, I think, their third person they finally got. It was just a nominating process they were having difficulty picking, but they ended up picking Mavita Johnson-Harrell, most recently in the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. She notched the victory by a comfortable margin, which was expected, but still, exactly, in a progressive district in the city, but still, they held on to both seats.
Sure. Very good. And do we know, with Brown's situation, she's been convicted, the trial's happened?
Yes, she has been convicted.
And that's why she was removed from office.
And she resigned her words were resigning under protest. Under protest. Her words, not mine.
Okay, fair enough. Her words, not yours. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Face the Issues. John, thanks again for being here. Tons of special elections, which impact, and to your point earlier, a lot of these may not impact us if we're not in that district. But for people there right now, they're not being represented, and which is never good for democracy. And so it is important for people to be voting in these special elections. There are 2 more that are upcoming. And these are 2 in the state Senate, both, at least one of the 2, which is in our broadcast viewing area out now, 2 in the region. Senator Rich Alloway and Senator Don White both resigned at the end of last month. But you said their seats are not, it's not quite clear yet what's going on there. Correct.
So ironically enough, both of their last days in office was the last day of February. They both stepped away for different reasons. In January, they announced they were going to be stepping away at the end of February. We don't know the candidates yet. The state, the counties and those districts need to meet up and hand select their nominee again. So for those in the viewing area, you might wonder, why is there no primary for my state senator walking away? Again, it's that same scenario. So both parties will pick their, I guess in theory, handpick who will be on the ballot. And like you mentioned, both of these seats are rather Republican friendly. I mean, you talk to any strategist, the boundaries there. State Senator White and Alloway comfortably win by significant margins when they run. Sometimes unopposed they ran. So I mean, you're looking at districts that the Republicans expect to keep. Having said that, that doesn't mean it's going to deter Democrats from running for, considering they think, and like I've mentioned to you in previous segments, anything can happen in a special election. So certainly time will tell, but at this current time, we don't know who the candidates will be. But we know, again, it's expected that it will coincide with the Pennsylvania primary of May. It actually is May 21st. It's
the same day.
It's the same day. Okay. So we can confirm the date. It's just we don't know the candidates. We're not sure right now.
So for those, there's 3 special elections that are going to happen on the primary. For people who are in those districts, when they go and vote, Same ballot. It's just that there's a special election
Yeah,
added to it.
it's fascinating how, you're going to have your regular primary. So whatever county you live in, there's important races everywhere you are. Like, don't get me wrong, this is an important primary regardless. But for those in those special election districts, even a little more important,
Sure.
considering, you're picking someone to finish the rest of these terms.
So let me ask you this. In Pennsylvania, we have something called a closed primary. Only you must be registered with your party to vote. But this is not the case for the special, correct? Independents can go and vote on primary day if they are in the district that has a special election.
That is 100% the case. And I know there's been chatter in Harrisburg about should they keep the system a closed primary. At this current time, it still is, like you alluded to. But the thing is, for a special election, it is open to any party, no matter Democrat, Republican, Green, whatever, Libertarian, whatever party affiliation you are able to vote in the special election.
So if you're registered to vote and you're in the 12th Congressional District or you're in one of these Senate seats, go vote, even if you're not registered with the party. John, thank you again for taking the time to join us.
Thanks so much, Sam. I appreciate it.
That is all the time we have tonight, but please continue this conversation with us online. Just use the hashtag #FaceTheIssues. And join us again next week as we unpack another issue right here on Face the Issues. My name is Sam Chen. On behalf of all of us here at Face the Issues, thank you and good night.